you look at the confinement system in feedlot beef, it is an inflammatory system, right? The way that these animals are fattened up is by giving them a fundamentally inflammatory maladaptive diet, right? Which triggers a lot of different reactions in their bodies. And it also is putting them in confinement, which creates, competition for mates and foods and resources, unsanitary conditions, highly stressful. So it's cortisol. So, there's sort of two factors: maladaptive diet, that's inflammatory, and then a highly inflammatory, stressful context that they're living in. So those two together. Now you're the doctor here, so I'm going to leave it to you to understand what's, eating meat from an animal that, effectively is highly inflammatory for us. That would make sense to me. And I'm always troubled when I see, people in the culinary community in particular posting pictures of Kobe and Wagyu and this highly fatty meat. And I just think, you wouldn't put a picture up on Instagram of a 350-pound 4-year-old and be like, look at how cool this is, right? You'd say this is an abomination, right? Help this child. And when you're putting that kind of picture up of those steaks, it's effectively what you're doing is saying here's a deeply diseased and troubled organism. And we celebrate and fetishize it as opposed to looking at it like what it is, which is inflamed tissue.
Well, It's interesting that the diet we're feeding the animals that's inflammatory is a high carb diet, corn. That's the same diet that Americans are eating, is a high refined carbohydrate diet that makes us inflamed and sick and more likely to get COVID and many chronic diseases. So it's actually an interesting parallel that you draw.